Hello, everyone. We should be live now. So, really great to have this conversation with the community. I'll just let a few seconds pass for everyone to join, but it's great to discuss a few important updates. So I see a lot of comments, a lot of excitement in the comments. Really great to have everyone here. Let's just maybe wait 1 minute and then we'll kick off the conversation for today. Okay. Hello, hello. A lot of comments popping in. Really great to see such a large crowd here. Yeah, I think it's fine. Most of the people are probably live. So let's just kickstart the conversation. Today is a very important day, and we want to cover just 3 things that are extremely important to the Elrond ecosystem and extremely important for the next steps. One is a general overview with where we are, what's happening, and what some of the exciting next steps are. Second, just a discussion on the current status with the Meyer DEX, with the MEX Economics, and some really exciting updates that we have for the MEX Economics model. And third, something that everyone is, of course, waiting for, which is the RIDE listing date, RIDE listing process, and so forth. These are the 3 topics that we'll cover, and I'll just go right into the first topic, and maybe at the end, we'll just cover a few questions on all these topics and so forth. So the first part is, as we discussed during our last town hall meeting, the Meyer DEX is live, and it's not only live, but it has supercharged utility across the Elrond mainnet. We've seen a tremendous growth on all the metrics, and most importantly, we've seen the bootstrapping process achieved with extreme efficiency. This has been the first milestone we were aiming for, and it's a great milestone that we have now checked. The most important thing is to look a bit where we are with respect to the metrics. So I've just noted a few things down. We have $2.2 billion TVL, almost $50 million daily volume, around 17.7 million transactions at this point, about 500,000 daily transactions since the launch, about 1.07 million accounts, and we've grown the number of accounts with 150,000 since the launch. These are all important milestones, and they're just the first step. A lot of exciting things are coming to the Meyer DEX, and with each new step, we are, of course, going to see a lot more usage, a lot more utility for the MEX token, and this will essentially take off even more significantly than we've seen up until this point. So moving to the most important point of the first part of the conversation, which is the MEX economics model. We've basically split the entire conversation in 2 parts. There's the bootstrapping process that we've focused on. And the bootstrapping process essentially means, what do we do in order to ensure that the initial launch, initial TVL initial metric, core metric growth is there and is growing tremendously. This we've seen work exceptionally in a way that we've not seen in the entire space. In the first 24 hours, in the first 48 hours, we've achieved some records for the Maillard DEX that were not seen in the space before. Now, we will only take this milestone as a kind of first milestone in a series of very important milestones that we have to look toward, we have to optimize toward, and we have to constantly work toward. And this is a great step. But now, as a second step, we have to switch the mindset and look at a kind of steady growth scenario and discuss what the most important elements are that are needed in order to achieve this steady and rapid growth scenario. And here we've noticed that there's a kind of very, very significant improvement that we can do to the Maillard DEX economics model. Specifically, we've discovered that in the bootstrapping process, we've attracted a lot of attention, not only from the Elrond community, but a lot of people from outside of the Elrond community, which is great. The only thing that we want to still focus on is essentially making sure that the most important thing we're optimizing for is not short-term profits, but long-term alignment and growth for the Elrond ecosystem and for the MEX Maillard DEX ecosystem. And here we've discovered that there's a bit of a bug or incomplete element in the MEX economics model. And the most important thing that we'll cover as a kind of next step that we're focusing on is a kind of distinction between mercenary capital and long-term alignment with productive capital and productive liquidity that we'll see present, and we always want present in the Maillard DEX. What this essentially means is that when you put out rewards, especially significant rewards that you want to reward to people that contribute to the growth of the ecosystem, you must be very mindful that some people will just come in to farm the rewards. They will not contribute anything and then will just leave. So it's very important to keep the rewards, have them significantly be present to attract new community members, but create an alignment not only for short-term growth, but for longer-term alignment and sustainable growth. So what this means is that we're introducing what will be called liquidity caps and uneven pools. So what does this mean in practice? Liquidity caps means that for the different type of liquidity that people provide and the different type of rewards that they choose, they will have very different incentives. We'll still have the overall incentive that we've designed in the beginning. It's just that the distribution and ratio between locked MEX and unlocked MEX, so vested reward and unlocked rewards, will be very differently calculated in order to ensure this long-term alignment. Uneven pools mean that in addition to the caps that we will see for unlocked capital and unlocked rewards, we will see pools with locked capital where the rewards will be disproportionate compared to the free and unvested rewards. Going even more in concrete terms, for each of the pools that we have right now and the farms that we have right now, will probably see a ratio of 95% rewards distributed toward locked MEX and around 5% of the rewards only distributed to unlocked MEX. This is extremely important as a second step of optimization. Why? Because it aligns long-term interests of the Mayer exchange, long-term interests of growing the liquidity, growing the ecosystem, and accruing value for the Mardex ecosystem, gives a lot of utility, a lot of value accrual power to the Mayer DEX token, and aligns interests so that pure farmers with mercenary capital have much lower, let's say, disincentives or incentives to farm things and then just come in and go out without aligning with the longer term incentives of the Mayer DEX. This is, I think, the most important element that we will discuss around during the next period, and it will always be as it was with the Elrond community as well. There will be short-term, let's say, short-term interested people, and they will come in and go out, and there will be longer-term people, contributors, and so forth that will reap tremendous rewards for providing significant value to the ecosystem. This is precisely what we're going to do with the Mardex and with the MEX token as well. So this new economics proposal model will ensure in practice that one will have rewards that are distributed a bit differently between the three pools that we have. So the eGold MEX pool, the eGold USDC pool, and the MEX farming pool will have different proportions, different ratio out of the total amount of rewards per block that will be distributed to each of the pools and then farms. And even more important, as a principle, will be more toward 95% distributed to locked MEX rewards. So people that lock their reward will receive roughly 95% or around that percentage proportion. And then only about 5% will tend to go to the free rewards pool. This is extremely important because it cuts down on the unhealthy, vicious flywheel that we've seen maybe in the 1-2 days previously, where unhealthy habits start to compound and then bring unanticipated consequences to the MEX ecosystem, to the eGold ecosystem, Elrond ecosystem, and so forth. So recalibrating rewards is one of the steps that we're discussing and we're proposing, and we believe will have significant healthy values to significantly healthy effects for the MEX ecosystem and for the Elrond ecosystem. The second element that we are focused towards is making sure that everyone understand that locked MEX will be the ultimate, let's say, citizen, first-class citizen of the Mayer exchange. Not only will be locked MEX the most valuable element of the Mayer exchange, but locked MEX will be the gateway toward a lot of other utilities that people will be able to benefit of in the Mardex ecosystem. What are some of the other utilities? We'll have a lot of fees derived as we add a lot of pools, a lot of farms, and so forth. And locked MEX token will be a great beneficiary of this type of value. We'll have tens and hundreds of pools that during the next period will bring to the Maya exchange, and probably during the next weeks we'll see several projects being listed in the Elrond ecosystem, in the Maya ecosystem, and starting to bring in pools for the listings that they will receive for their tokens. We'll have tens and hundreds of farms. We'll have fees that will be burned, and other features. Of course, launching the Mardex is the most important and difficult step. Optimizing the MEX economics model is a second step. And then rolling out the utility is the primary focus that we will have. Rolling out new pools, rolling out new farms is the main goal. But then we also have other features like prediction markets, like betting on different events that seem interesting, and this is just the starting point for the Maya exchange. Overall, I would like to also add that initially we've designed a specific pool of tokens of initial liquidity that we thought would be important to be budgeted as a potential use in case of necessity. Now, the great part is we've not used any of those tokens from listing up until this point. So we're still discussing 2 points here. One, and perhaps the biggest and craziest point, is that during the next period, one of the options will be to burn this entire liquidity, which would amount in the largest DeFi burn, probably in the space, the largest certainly in the Elrond ecosystem. But the great part is this has not been used at all, and will not be used at this point. And most likely, it's either going to be used in a very smart way, or it can potentially be burned. So this is a very important thing as well. Now, for the Maya DEX and for the MEX economics model, there are two things that we should always be mindful of. One, we'll try to introduce a very rapid and iterative feedback orientated model, where not only in terms of features, not only in terms of security, not only in terms of technical design, we'll always look to update things extremely rapidly as soon as we discover something not working. But also in terms of the economics model, we're aware and we recognize that the economics model will have sort of three stages. The bootstrapping stage that we've just discussed about, that has worked extremely well. The refinement stage, and this is the stage we're entering right now, where as we make progress, we'll discover that some things fit extremely well and some things need to be adjusted based on new data that we discover. And we'll always come with new updates in this spot, because the market is extremely dynamic, the market is extremely complex, and many, if not most of the things that we're trying here have not been tried before. So we're embracing this model whereby each day we understand that we can learn new things about the design of the model, about the implications, about the effects, and we embrace this change wholeheartedly, and also embrace the next steps that we want to make just in order to keep improving the model. So we expect here a few steps of refinements that we will do during the next period, just to calibrate for longer term growth, calibrate for sustained growth, and calibrate for very significant and rapid growth. This is why these new updates on the economics model are extremely relevant, but we expect during the next week, you expect during the next 2-3 weeks to have some smaller refinements that just come in and complement what we are proposing today and what we'll share with you. And this is not only fine, but it's great. This is the only way to go beyond what has been tried in the current space, to reach records that have not been reached. And it's only by looking at things with fresh eyes and pushing as hard as possible that we'll be able to beat, achieve these records, and maybe even exceed them. And then I've mentioned that there will be the bootstrapping model, there will be the refinement, the bootstrapping step, the refinement step, and there's also a much longer term step, outlook and overview. And one of the things that has differentiated Elrond and will differentiate MEX from all the other DEXs out there is a very thoughtful longer term plan where people understand that the Meyer DEX and the MEX token are not here for the short term. They're not just random elements that you can play with and you just play with today, you farm them a bit, and then you move to the next steps. As Elrond will grow and expand tremendously during the next period, the liquidity pool, the liquidity gateway for the Elrond ecosystem will be the Meyer DEX. The Meyer DEX token, MEX, will be the gateway toward this entire exchange that is fully community owned, but that over time will accrue tremendous value through the different mechanisms that we built in via the locked MEX feature, via the new pools that will open, via the new farms that will open, via the new listing mechanisms that will open for the entire community. And with each new step, utility will become clearer. But even larger, or even more important than that, during the next probably 3-4 weeks, we'll discuss about, once we've calibrated this current economic model and we're on track for significant growth, we'll discuss about a step that shifts the mindset from what happens this week and next month to how will the next 2-3 years look? How will the next 5 years look? How will the next 10 years look for the Meyer DEX and for the MEX token? As we shift the mindset from this short-term view to this much longer-term view, it will become clear that we're building something very different, something that which will be much larger than what we are seeing in the space, with more community members, with more utility, and will follow up on this very specifically with the economics model as soon as we've made sure that this refinement step is in place, that we're happy with it, that we're happy with the effects we're seeing, and pushing it forward. So the summary of this first part of the discussion is this: the Meyer DEX is in a very special position. We've achieved bootstrapping. We have a lot of attention, a lot of community, a lot of usage. Now we need to make sure that mercenary capital and maybe short-term focused capital will not be able to fundamentally shift the growth trajectory of the Meyer DEX ecosystem in the wrong direction. And this is the way we'll do it. We'll introduce this disproportionate reward system that incentivizes locked rewards and locked max rewards, And the principal will probably be something like 95% toward locked max rewards for different pools and farms, and 5% for the unlocked rewards and pools. This is just the first steps, and we assume that there will be some minor refinements and so forth that we will do along the way. We're always super happy for the feedback that we receive, for the testing that we receive, and the engagement that we see with the entire community. But and I'll add on that, this next step we believe will contribute tremendously for the next steps of the MyRDEX. Now, maybe the most important questions are when can you see a first version of this new economic model with the recalibrated rewards for locked rewards versus unlocked rewards? How fast can you see them, and when can we do the rollout? As we finish the town hall today, we'll follow up with a Twitter thread and key informations. We'll probably post an Excel version, an Excel sheet with the specific version of rewards that will aim for during the next period, and the way things upgrade for the different farms. This will be extremely important. And then, secondly, it's tremendously important that we move forward with the changes. Post this for feedback and so forth, and probably move forward with the changes in maybe 2 or 3 hours after this town hall. We've been working for a long time already on this. A few days ago, immediately after launch, we've discovered this. We've been thinking and refining the model ever since. We've been testing some of these features to make sure that they're in place, that they work as expected. And we're now at the point where probably during this town hall tests are still running internally and so forth. I checked with the team before, and as soon as testing is done, we'll follow up with the update, and we'll roll out this new version for the community to experiment with and play with. Now, keep in mind that there will be a lot of discussions, a lot of conversations around these subjects, because the only way, as I said, toward building a model that essentially has not been built at all before um, is by going on a route that has not been traveled before, making sure that this route is very strongly rooted in clear reasoning, and is strongly linked toward the right kind of incentives, is extremely important to us, and I believe extremely important to the Elrond community and to the MyRDEX community. So, short version, as we finish the Elrond town hall, we'll post thread giving a clear summary of the most important elements that we've touched on, sharing an Excel with this new model that we're aiming for and that will be rolled out. And we'll probably have something like 2 hours time to still test and finalize element, and then we'll start rolling out this new version of the model. This will be a huge step forward in the right direction, just as we expected. And we're very happy to have it already in tests and close to deployment. This has been the first step of the discussion, really important step forward. Let's now maybe shift toward the second step of the discussion, which comes down to something that the entire community is also looking for and waiting for. And this is the holo ride and ride listing. As you've seen, Um, we've put a lot of effort into helping the Holoride team prepare everything, move forward with the different things, go through the process on the Mara Launchpad, and now get ready for not only finalizing everything, but starting this journey within the Elrond ecosystem. We're very, very happy and excited to see the engagement that the Elrond community has brought to the Holoride ecosystem, and the community outreach, the community buy-in that we've seen, and we're now focused on first making sure that the Mardex is live and calibrated, so we can move forward with the ride listing. So when will the ride listing happen? Um, Most likely, the time frame that we're aiming for the ride listing will be Tuesday, 7 December, at 13 UTC. We'll probably have the liquidity opening, liquidity deposits, and so forth. And then at 16 UTC, we'll probably have swaps open and farming rewards open. Now, I'm sure the entire community is tremendously excited for this. And I'm sure we'll see some records in terms of outreach, and in terms of experimentation, and in terms of just growth for the Holoride ecosystem that we've not seen before. The two elements that I would like to outline regarding this is the listing pairs will be ride eagle for the swaps, but there's also a very special element. And this element will be a liquidity pool, the first liquidity pool that people will be able to access in order to receive ride tokens with locked MEX. This is why I was saying that locked MEX will be part of a listing process for all the tokens in the ecosystem, for all the tokens that will intend to get listed on the MAR exchange. They will generally be able to create a liquidity pool in their token for locked MEX, for people providing liquidity and locked MEX, and then people will be able to farm this for the next 30 days. Again, this will be something very special, and we're tremendously excited to be able to roll this out with Holoride. I'm sure the entire ecosystem will be super happy to go through the process. But most important element to understand is that you need Eagle in order to be able to participate in the right token, on the one hand via swaps, and you'll need locked MEX to participate in the right token via farming. With this step, another significant growth step begins for the Mardex and the entire Elrond ecosystem. So we could not be more excited to have this focus, to make sure that this week we calibrate everything regarding the rewards. We get the feedback, we test everything inside the community, and then the next week on Thursday, we put all the focus on the ride listing, prepare everything to have things ready. And I've seen in the community that some people have even discovered that we were performing tests for the ride pool, for the ride farm, and so forth. So of course we're super happy to perform these tests and make sure that everything is in order. Um, and yeah, these are the two elements. Now I would add that for Holoride, this is just a starting point. A good starting point has been for them to join the Elrond ecosystem, and they've been making really great progress. Now, an even better starting point continuation has been coming to the Meyer Launchpad. And now a very, very significant next step is listing on the Meyer exchange. We're quite excited about this, and quite frankly, look forward to how things will expand and grow even beyond the Elrond ecosystem, with the entire wave of growth and wave of excitement we see toward the metaverse, toward virtual reality, and all the interesting experimentation we'll see on this front. So, to summarize again, the right token listing will happen on Tuesday, pending finalization of the entire testing process. We intend to finalize calibration on the MEX economics model this week and today during the day, rolling out some of the updates, making sure that everything is in place, making sure that everything works as expected. And the next step then on Tuesday will be the right listing. The right listing will happen at 13 UTC with respect to the liquidity deposits. That is the time where liquidity deposits will be open. And then 16 UTC will be the time where swaps are enabled and farming rewards are enabled. Keep in mind that eGold ride will be the pair that we'll see on the Meyer exchange, and then locked MEX will be the separate farm, parallel to what we discussed with the ride eGold element. In parallel to this, you'll be able to use locked MEX to be part of the ride ecosystem as well. Now, taking a step back, this is another very, very good moment for the Elrond ecosystem, and another moment to react in a swift manner, to take the next steps in recalibrating things, experimenting with them, making sure that we're on track with the growth, on track with the community, and on track with the different metrics that we're tracking. Let me maybe step back for a second and move to a few questions that we have in the ecosystem. And let me see if my colleagues have looked at some of the questions and if we have any interesting elements that we should touch on. 1 second. So, questions. I see that there are some questions, but they are around some different topics. Let me see. One second. I'm looking here to see if we have any important questions. Yeah, so of course there are some questions regarding the Meyer DEX and its growth trajectory and next steps. There are three things at least that come to mind immediately, and this should be almost self-understood. One is highest priority will be to have a very calibrated economics model that enables us to grow extremely well and efficient longer term, not only for short-term focused people, but for long-term focused people that want to be part of this ecosystem. This will be one. Second, most important will be the utility that MEX and locked MEX especially will gain with each coming week. With each new week, we'll discover a new utility with a new pools that you can farm from, with a new economics model that recalibrates incentives. You'll see that MEX token is the first class citizen of the Mardex exchange. And then third, beyond this multiple utilities that we'll see within the Mardex ecosystem, we'll see, of course, listings beyond the Elrond ecosystem. We are, of course, exploring discussions with some of the other exchanges, but we wanted to make sure that first and foremost, security is there. Second, economics is rightly aligned for the longer term and enables us to grow very significantly and healthy. Third, utility is there to put weight on everything that we've mentioned before and give meaning and value to this entire architecture that we've built. And then with this, of course, a lot of discussions will follow with some of the key exchanges in the space, making sure that the MEX token is sharing even more utility and ownership with people outside of the Elrond ecosystem, and gives them the opportunity in participating in the Mardex ecosystem, in being part of the journey and contributing. So these are some of the key steps that we'll see on this. MEX on the other exchanges is then solved. NFT marketplace update. I'll just share something on this. We've been testing for a long time some things for the marketplace. And as soon as we have the clear updates, we'll roll something super exciting out. But at this point, the focus will be Mar Exchange, making sure that it's bulletproof and ready for the next stage of growth, Mar Launchpad, and the right ecosystem and so forth, and making sure that they move forward. And then we have some more products that we've been working on that will get some cool updates and that will get to tests in the Elrond ecosystem during the next period. Another question is about the Bridge V2. We've been working on a V2 version of the Bridge that is in the process. And to give you some more context there, as we neared the launch, we came to a version of a Bridge that was working almost properly, and that then forced us to move to this V1 version of the Bridge. The V2 version of the Bridge is in the works, and I would expect maybe during December to possibly have an update on this that will test with the community. What we want to make sure here is, one, that once the Bridge is ready, that it's bulletproof in terms of security. And I cannot underscore enough how important this is and how many nights we've invested in security purely to make sure that things are as close to bulletproof as possible on that front. So once the Bridge is ready, we'll start testing it with the community. We'll make sure that everything is right in terms of security. And at that point, we'll also make sure that we can automatize some of the key elements that we're doing in a mostly manual manner at this point. Still, this is a good step. We know that the V2 will come, and I'm very much looking forward to the update from our team as well It's just about making sure that security is bulletproof and the next version is ready. Moving forward to the next question, what about the MPAD? I think we've briefly touched on this at some point. The idea uh, we're always considering, first and foremost, is there a good reason to have something, to have a token when a token is needed? But asking if a token is really needed is also a very important question. And so the Mara Launchpad has come out, and we've made a tremendous step with Holoride, and a tremendous step with the element that we've brought to the community, and so forth. Um, Still, for the first version, we've discovered that the embed token would not bring additional utility. It does not mean that at a later stage we might not move forward with an update like that. It just means that for the first iteration, for the first version, we've not seen a very good version that provided value to the community with this new token. And so we're still evaluating this part and are focusing, one, on moving forward with the Mar Launchpad as well. Two, making sure that there's an alignment between the Elrond ecosystem and the Mar Launchpad. This is why we focused on having staked e-gold as a key metric for the people that want to participate in the Mar Launchpad. And at a later stage, if we discover that there's a good and smart way to align interests and add more value to the ecosystem with a new token, we'll very happily consider this and then share it with the community as well. Moving forward to the next question, I think a question is, what's the next project? At this point, we're focusing on Holoride, making sure that they can really fly in the Elrond ecosystem. They can really benefit of the entire community and see the love of the Elrond community. And one thing I would add is that very soon, the new snapshots for the next project, whenever this may come, it might be a longer time. We've not decided this, but the important part is that the snapshot for eGold staked will very soon begin. So since these snapshots will be on a weekly basis for eGold staked, you'll think very carefully about this and think on about what how you want to participate and so forth. So just as eGold and eGold staked will be special metrics that will always consider in the ecosystem, MEX and MEX locked will be special metrics that we'll consider in the MEX ecosystem. Moving to the next question, to the Mara exchange, when can people start adding pools to the Mara exchange? The most important element that we want to make sure before opening Mara decks to the entire community and so forth is, first, that it's bulletproof from a security standpoint. And I cannot underscore enough how difficult this is, how much intensity, how much energy is going from the entire team into making sure that every update is considered not only in terms of improvements, but in terms of security implications, unforeseen security implications. And this is the one thing that we're prioritizing right now. First, as I've mentioned before, making sure that we recalibrate the MEX economics. Second, validating some of the processes that are useful to the MEX ecosystem, like listing new tokens, doing the very first listing, is something very special. It's not just one thing that you're doing right there. The first listing will always be super special. Doing the first farms that will be created, again, are very special. Now, once we have this point, we'll collaborate with some of the projects in the ecosystem that have been waiting for a long time to make sure that they start preparing things to get listed and so forth. But at first, we want to ensure that the MAR exchange is something special, something that does not exist in any other ecosystem. If we make sure that UX is there, economics are aligned for long-term value, and new projects, new tokens can very easily and effectively get liquidity within the Elrond ecosystem, we'll see an explosion of growth that will make things extremely exciting. So this is our focus. Once we validated some of the processes, at that point, of course, we'll start discussing some of the other processes. We'll start discussing how does the community participate in all of this, and how does the community submit different things? How does the community move forward so we can accelerate and scale what we've already discovered works? This is I think the key thing, and we'll follow up on. Be sure to note that we always love the feedback. We always love the support that you guys are providing, and we've learned and discovered a lot of things with really great Elrond community, the really great support and effort from the admins and so forth, and great feedback that we've received from different people within the DeFi space. So we're very early, but we're making progress extremely fast. And we're just going to keep pushing forward. Let me see if there are another 2, 3 questions, and then maybe we'll get to a close. What about TwistPay? Where are we? I see one question is, where are we with TwistPay? What's happening there? As you can assume, the process of acquiring a company that is regulated by the central bank is not an easy step. It's quite a tricky step. But what I can say is we've had great conversations with the central bank. We've had great conversations with the regulators, and we're doing everything within our power to give the right kind of feedback, the right kind of signal in this conversation, so we can conclude acquisitions and next steps. We have even more steps that are always in the process, and about these steps you'll discover more pretty soon. These things for so another question I see is, when is it expected to see BTC listed, ETH listed, and BNB? This is a good question. And we'll probably try to have an update on this during the next week. We've already considered this. It's part of the process, but we'll probably follow up with an update right after we make sure that everything is in place with the economics model, everything is in place with the right token listing, and at that point we prepare the stage for the next step of growth with community listings and with some of these larger tokens like BTC, ETH, and perhaps even BNB. The last question, my Visa card, is an update regarding the on and off ramps. On-ramps are live, and we're quite happy with the updates that we've seen in the last period. Off-ramps, we've been working now for months on, and we're finally getting close to having a version that works on the off-ramp part as well. And then for the cards, there will be some updates as well. We're making progress on that front as well, but I think the off ramp will come a lot sooner than the card, and then the card will come as soon as we have the best update that we're expecting. Yeah, so I think we've covered quite a lot today. The summary of the conversation is this: we've made a tremendous progress with insane sacrifices for the entire team to launch the Mardex and to bring a huge added utility to the Elrond ecosystem. The second, actually, super large DApp has just 10x everything within the ecosystem in terms of usage. A natural step of this will be recalibrating and refining different elements, recalibrating and refining infrastructure, recalibrating and refining some of the products, whether it's wallets, Explorer, and so forth, and preparing for this next stage to be even more exciting than everything we've experienced. The Maya Dex has just seen its first days. In its first days, uh, in a surprising manner for I think most of the community, it has beaten and exceeded all the records we've seen in the space um, in a very short time frame. Now it's extremely important to focus on calibrating incentives, making sure that we've aligned things for long-term efforts, long-term contributions, and sustainable growth. And this is where our focus is. This is what we'll roll out today. And we're quite excited about this very, very significant and necessary step forward. Of course, we're proposing this and we'll roll out things later today in probably 2 hours. We'll share a thread about these new metrics, about these new elements. And I'm sure that a lot of the community members will provide feedback. I'm sure that a lot of the communities will contribute with strategies, will contribute with tutorials, with explanations, and so forth. And what I would add is, in addition to this, for the next week, on Tuesday, we have the right listing. We're focusing on rolling the liquidity part, opening it at 13 UTC on Tuesday, and then the swaps and the farming part and farming rewards at 16 UTC. All this is, of course, pending that things are validated from a testing standpoint, that nothing else appears in the meantime, and so forth. We're tremendously excited both for the Mardex step and for the right listing step. And we see these next steps for the MEX ecosystem, for the MEX utility, and for the entire Elrond ecosystem as a very, very, very significant step forward. I cannot underscore enough how much the entire team has been pushing to make this a reality. And I'm extremely, extremely proud to see all the effort coming in from the talented team members that we have. I cannot be more excited to see an equal amount of effort, an equal amount of contribution from the Elrond community, with admins that rock and pouring their lives there and bringing the contributions day in and day out when things are easy and when things are difficult. So awesome effort for them as well, and huge thanks to them as well. And then um, I'm also quite happy and quite excited by all the people that are new, that are discovering DeFi, that are seeing harvesting and this type of max rewards for the first time. It's only day one. We've not seen yet what Elrond can achieve, what Elrond can process, what Elrond can deliver. We've only seen a fraction. And with each new step, we're going to, I think, rediscover what the blockchain space means, what its utility means to the entire community. And with each new wave of community growth, of user growth, we're getting close essentially to what our fundamental goal is and will be. That is building the infrastructure and backbone for a high bandwidth, low latency, and transparent financial system, and then giving anyone, anywhere, easy access to it. Whether we're doing this through the Elrond infrastructure, to the Meyer app, to the different products like the Explorer and wallets and so forth, or through the Meyer DEX, will always focus on this and push as hard as possible to redefine the step, the redefine the products that we're bringing to the community, and bring new value and new meaning to this entire ecosystem. Um, Thanks everyone for being with us. Thanks for being part of all this, and we've got more work to do, more exciting things. Looking forward to pushing this forward and to your feedback. Thank you, and talk very soon.